and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique Prima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580, good morning. Happy Friday. God bless. Yay, it's Friday. I'm Dominique DePrima. This show is called First Things First, and my very first thing every day is prayer, giving thanks, giving praises, asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders. And let's go. We got a big day, as every day is a big day when you have one to live. It's a Freedman Friday, that's what we call it, because we focus on reparations every week around this time, a second hour of the show. Every single week, we are here doing reparations, talking about it, updating it, making sure we're on top of it. And even during the MAGA era, the progress is quite stunning. So we do that. Hour one, we typically look local. Hour two, we do Freedman Friday. Third hour, we do something, anything, who knows what. Today, we're opening up the phone lines, election freestyling, and you are granted amnesty if you've called before. Want to get your thoughts about where you are with this ballot. A lot of folks already voted. I have not yet. I'll do it. I'll do it the last day. I'll do it Tuesday. Some of these things took me a while to figure out. Okay. We were meant to have Charles Barron, the council member out of New York, to let us know what was going on with New York reparations, but Mr. Barron has bowed out at the last minute. He is an elder, so we are working feverishly to come up with someone else who can tell us what's going on in NYC. If not, we'll take a reparations lens to this election, and trust me, there's some juicy things to unpack there. Either way it goes, hour two, we are talking reparations. Right now, though, we will be speaking with someone who would like your vote for governor. That's right, governor of the state of California, which has been one of the most conflicted and confusing races for everybody. Well, maybe not for Republicans. They only have two candidates. Chad Bianco, the Oath Keeper guy, and Steve Hilton, the Fox News British immigrant guy that has been endorsed by Donald J. Trump. Well, this is neither of those, because they did not even return our calls. Much like the mayoral candidate Nithya Raman, they don't care about talking to you, apparently. Too busy, whatever. A couple of them did talk with Tavis, but right now on the phone with us, he's an activist, he's an educator and an organizer. He says he's known for his moral clarity and intellectual rigor. He is an academic historian at the University of California, Santa Barbara, and he's focused on abolition, social transformation, and the role of knowledge in collective uplift. You've seen his name on ballots before, but he says he's not a career politician. Dr. Butch Ware, good morning.
Morning, Dominique. How are you doing?
I'm blessed. How are you?
Same. My day starts the same as yours. Get up, pray, have a cup of coffee, and then get to it. So, yeah, doing well.
Yeah. That's well, and I know get to it is a lot right now because it's the last few days of voting, right? Voting ends on Tuesday. So I imagine you're speaking somewhere, shaking hands, kissing babies, and it's a huge state.
Yeah. Well, and 5 media spots yesterday, 4 in-person events, the day before that. Ripping and running, as we say.
I should have said in your intro that You're one of two black people running for governor, you and
Mm-hmm.
Tony Thurman. And despite a
Yep.
pretty decent number of us, well, it's small by percentage, but by sheer numbers of black folks, California has a lot of black people.
True.
But neither one of the African American candidates seems to be getting the numbers in polling. Do you attribute that to money, racism? What do you put behind that?
Well, I would push it just back a little bit. I've polled as high as 5% in the polls, which at the time that the Democratic Secretary of State moved to knock me off the ballot, so my candidacy is now a writing candidacy. The leading Democrat candidates at that time were Tom Steyer, Katie Porter, and Eric Swalwell before his campaign collapsed for obvious reasons. They were polling at 10%. So I've been within 5 percentage points of the leading Democrat candidates. But what's happening now is that the Emerson and Gallup polls that they're publishing are not even inquiring about third-party candidates. So you will not hear about the strong polling presence that we've had throughout this race. And no disrespect to my good brother Tony Thurman, who I actually like, and I'm not a big fan of many Democrats. I'm from the school of Malcolm. I believe the liberal's a fox. It bears its teeth. You think it's smiling, but you're on the menu. The conservative is a wolf. When it bears its teeth, it's into a vicious snarl that leaves the black man no illusion as to where he stands. So I'm no fan of either of those parties. That's why I run from outside the system. But I've polled Tony despite the fact that he has that Democrat D next to his name. So we've actually been building community strength. We've got a campaign where we have volunteers, thousands of volunteers up and down the state, from San Diego to Humboldt, Central Coast, Central Valley. And with respect to numbers, there was a poll, an online poll by a pretty prominent, progressive, website, Rogue DNC. It was held on April 22nd. There were 3,200 respondents. And for context, your average Emerson or Gallup poll, which will exclude me because I'm a third-party candidate, gets about 1,000 or 1,500 respondents. So this poll on the 22nd asked, who would you like to hear from at tonight's debate? Mind you, I was not invited to participate in that debate, but the results of the online poll were Butch Ware 45%, Javier Becerra 33%, Tom Steyer 17%, Katie Porter 6%. So despite the fact that they try to exclude me from a lot of the mainstream conversation, we outside and we're building, community strength everywhere. So don't always believe the polls. What Malcolm said about this, he said the media is the most powerful entity on earth. It'll turn the innocent into the guilty and the guilty into the innocent, and that's power. And what I would add to what Minister Malcolm said is that it turns winners into losers and losers into winners, right? Because they can create an impression of strength behind candidates that actually don't have support in the streets, and they can also suppress an image of strength for candidates that do.
Yeah, well, a lot to unpack there. We won't go too deep into too much of it because we want to talk about your candidacy. But
Sure.
it is, how do they decide? They just randomly say, okay, we're going to include these people in the poll and we're not going to include you. Do they, it's just we're only going D and R, or, is it based on percentages?
Quite literally, most of them actually only ask D and R. They will not even include third-party information. They'll just include it, undecided or other, right? And so we'll get lost in a group of, it'll say other, and it'll be 20% of the poll, or undecided, and we get lost in that number because they quite literally won't ask. Most of the polls that you see are actually paid. A few of them are independent, but oftentimes they're actually paid for by campaigns. We got our first polling numbers, for example, from December of 2025 when Eric Swalwell was deciding whether he was going to enter the race. And his team had heard about how a particular debate that I participated in, SEIU local in Sacramento, where they closed the door and asked for the vote of best candidate. And I beat Katie Porter and Javier Becerra together, right? Both of them. When you added up their total, I won that debate. So we got polling because Eric Swalwell's team conducted a survey where they asked questions about me. We found I was polling at 2% in December of 2025. And for context, Mamdani was not polling at 2% until March, before his June primary. So you won't hear about third-party candidates unless the polls ask. And the overwhelming majority of them do not ask about third-party candidates. They only ask about DNR.
Okay. Butch Ware is my guest, and I want to get into the platform because
Sure.
as as Dr. Melina Abdul always points out, we have to, even if you do not make the runoff, we have to at least have the conversation about what you're talking about, not just the horse race itself. So we'll get into some of that when we come forward. Butch Ware is running for governor. He would like your vote. You can find him at Butch Ware for Gov. It's the number 4 and then gov.com. And we'll keep it going. I got a lot of questions on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for starting your morning off with a voice that speaks truth to power and the powerless, getting to the heart of what matters most in our community. This is where authentic conversation meets real action. From breaking news and politics to culture and community solutions, this is where you hear perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. This is where we come together, get informed, and make change happen. You're inside First Things First with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, sunshine. You make my day.
There is no denying that we've always been the conscience of this country. KBLA Talk 1580 is progressive talk radio built for our community, by our community, and with hosts who look like you, live near you, and care about what you care about. 50,000 watts of truth right here in Southern California. KBLA Talk 1580. Listen live on your AM radio dial at 1580 or stream us live on our KBLA1580.com website or on our free KBLA 1580 app.
Unapologetically progressive.
Javier Becerra isn't new to the fight for progress. In Congress, he helped write and pass Obamacare. As Attorney General, he sued Trump over 120 times and won. As Secretary of Health, Becerra took on special interests and lowered drug costs. Endorsed by Planned Parenthood and nurses, Javier Becerra is the fighter we need and the leader we can trust to tackle California's affordability crisis, build more affordable housing, and stop Trump when he violates our civil rights. Ad paid for by Becerra for Governor 2026.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it!
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, The Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Yeah, man!
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is dedicated to inspiring youth and resilience through storytelling, arts, filmmaking, and enrichment programs for youth and families in under-resourced communities and system-impacted individuals. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free and low-cost arts programs to youth and families from under-resourced communities, both system-impacted youth and those affected by the incarceration of a loved one. 1 in 43 children in America have a parent incarcerated. 70% of those children are expected to end up in prison. Through filmmaking, animation, theater, and writing, they help young people express themselves, build confidence, and imagine new possibilities. Beyond the arts, they offer financial literacy workshops, emergency support, and scholarships. Because thriving takes more than talent, it takes access. To learn more about the impact of Michael Daughters Foundation and how you can be a part of the movement, please visit their website, michaelsdaughterfoundation.com. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DePrima right now.
Right now, we're talking with Butch Ware. He's running for governor. You may remember him. He ran for vice president on the Green Party ticket. And, you know, I know you don't want to hear this. I know your endorsee, is that what you call them? People who endorse you? My friend who has endorsed you, Dr. Melina Abdullah, doesn't want to hear it either. I've said repeatedly, I don't think this is a good time for a protest vote in either the mayor's race or the governor's race. Some folks feel like the Green Party is the perennial spoiler. Your other friend that works here, who owns the place, Stab Smiley, doesn't agree with that argument at all. You know, that all parties have a right to run. But we are in danger of having like a Chad Bianco or a Steve Hilton. So talk to me about, you know, what your calculus is as a third party candidate, as, you know, as a member of the Green Party, and how you see that debate, which I'm sure you've heard a lot of.
Sure. Well, so the first thing to say is that this is a primary election, and you are meant in a primary election to vote for the candidates and the policies that you believe best serve you. The argument that we're going to end up with a Chad Bianco because of your vote in a primary just doesn't hold, right? There is going to be a Democrat on the ballot. You will get your opportunity to vote for whichever genocidal corporate Democrat you want to in November, regardless. The best way to push the Democrats left right now is to vote for an independent third-party candidate such as myself, because the way that you can get the Republicans out of the race on Tuesday, June 2nd, is to write the name Butch Ware onto your ballot. This is a top two jungle primary, which means that only the two top candidates advance irrespective of party. You can push the Republicans out entirely and create a matchup between myself and Tom Steyer or myself and Javier Becerra. And which would you rather have? Let's say that you do not believe that a third-party candidate can win. Now, I'm going to get into the numbers of exactly why I can finish in that top two. But let's say that you don't believe that. Which would you rather have? Your Democrats chasing a Republican to the right between June and November, or them having to deal with a candidate like me, who's endorsed by Chris Lodgson, one of the founders of the Coalition for Just and Equitable California, the folks that are actually doing the work on reparations? Would you rather have them chasing somebody to the right, or dealing with me, who's been running on universal single-payer health care, not just in the 2026 gubernatorial election, but in the 24 presidential election, who's running on housing first, which means everybody eats before anybody gets seconds except for housing, right? It's the same rule applied to housing, which means that I'm going to tax Blackstone and BlackRock, the private equity firms that are holding thousands of vacant properties and spiking your home ownership costs and your rents. Would you rather have them chasing someone to the right, or having to deal with me, who has said I am not going to comply with any unconstitutional federal orders, which means ICE is going to have to go through every lawyer and law enforcement officer in the state before they so much as touch a hair on the head of any California resident. The point is that this is actually the opportunity that you have. If you believe that the Democrats can be pushed to the left, this is your only opportunity to push them to the left. Now, I personally have never been a Democrat nor a Republican. I come from the school of Malcolm. I converted at the age of 15 to Islam when I read Malcolm's autobiography. So I process things the way that Malcolm did. Malcolm said of the Democrats to our people in 1964, he said, "You put them first and they put you last, and that makes you a chump. That makes you a political chump." Well, what have black folks gotten for our allegiance to that party? Did they protect a woman's right to choose? Did they protect affirmative action? Did they protect DEI? Have they even protected our voting rights? So we continue to surrender our power and vote out of fear, right? Thinking that the Republicans are the bad guys, but the Democrats.
But they are.
It was Joe Biden. And, sure, but the point is that there are two bad guys, right?
No, I mean,
Because
I
it
know
was
where you're
Joe
going
Biden.
with this. I have this argument endlessly
yeah.
with Doc, and I don't agree. I feel like I don't vote fear. I vote strategy. That's different.
What's the difference between strategy and fear if you are choosing for policies that actively diminish you and your community power? So for my approach to this is that what I actually think takes place is that we frame harm reduction as though that's a real thing with the Democrats, but it was Joe Biden and Bill Clinton that wrote the crime bill that locked up, my entire generation. I'm 52 years old. I have cousins that did time for things that now, white-owned cannabis companies make lots of money off of. It was, Bill Clinton that, crafted NAFTA and gutted the American working class. It was Barack Hussein Obama who assassinated Muammar Gaddafi, and now there's an actual African slave trade in Libya. Trump, for all of the violence of his ICE escalations, is still chasing the deportation records that were set by Barack Obama.
Hold that thought, Dr. Ware. We got a hard stop here for news, traffic, and sports, but we will continue this fascinating conversation on the other side. Thank you for staying with us for the hour. Dr. Butch Ware is my guest. He wants your vote for governor of California. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Chicago's Black Mayor Brandon Johnson is pushing back on tougher measures to stop teen takeovers, saying a more aggressive approach won't work.
In other places, these aggressive tactics have not necessarily deterred these gatherings from taking place. In fact, they ultimately exacerbate the situation.
His comments come after a chaotic weekend that left 5 officers hit by a car. 4 people are dead after a shooting in Los Angeles. It happened near the intersection of Parthenia Street and Woodley Avenue. Police say 2 adults and 2 children were killed in North Hills. Neighbors suspect a murder-suicide, but authorities say there's no ongoing threat. And the Grammy Museum is hosting its 3rd annual Hip Hop Block Party on June 16th. The event will feature live performances, panels, fashion, and more across all floors, running from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m. Get BIN News now, on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Head to Waba Grill weekdays after 3 p.m. for their $5 happy hour and try their new Chili Crisp dumplings. Bold, crunchy, and tossed in a fiery crisp, paired with a premium Waba beverage drink like their authentic Thai tea. Get both for just $5 only at Waba Grill. It's for you.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The San Antonio Spurs took care of business at home Thursday night in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. They dominated Oklahoma City 118-91 to even the best-of-7 series at 3 apiece. 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 block shots for San Antonio star Victor Wembanyama. OKC missed 33-point shots, 5 of them by NBA MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. SGA had his lowest point total in the series with 15. He also had only 3 free throw attempts. We'll see if SGA plays like an MVP in the decisive Game 7 Saturday in OKC. It's been 12 years since an HBCU won a game in the NCAA baseball tournament. HBCU Alabama State takes on Alabama today in a first-round game. First pitch at 4 p.m. West Coast time. For Alabama State alumni in the Los Angeles area, you can catch the game live on ESPN+. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
His mother was a teacher and activist. His father was a Navy veteran. He built a company worth billions, and then he walked away from it. turning from profit to purpose, helping those who need it most. That's Tom Steyer. When big oil tried to pollute our air and water, Tom fought to stop them and won. When corporations were dodging taxes, Tom closed the loophole and got billions for public schools. And when party leaders were afraid to take on Trump, he led a movement to impeach him.
This president is unfit, he's dangerous, and we need to get rid of him.
Now, Trump is attacking Tom because, like the oil companies and the tax cheats, Donald Trump knows Tom Steyer answers to no one and will do whatever it takes to stop special interests and start lowering costs for Californians.
I can't do it by myself. I need you guys to be with me, and we need to do this together.
Politicians make promises. Tom Steyer makes a difference. Make sure you vote Tom Steyer for governor, June 2nd.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
Hey, KBLA listeners, this is Stephen Bradford, candidate for State Insurance Commissioner on June 2nd. I've spent my entire life as a public servant on the Gardena City Council, the State Assembly, and the State Senate, standing up for working families, small businesses, seniors, and communities that are too often left behind. I'm running for State Insurance Commissioner because we need an advocate, a watchdog, who will make sure insurance is not only available, but affordable for all Californians. I, like you, am tired of being dropped from coverage after doing everything right, or wondering if anyone is on your side after a disaster strikes. I will be your strongest advocate to make sure we have a vibrant insurance market that creates greater competition and more choices for consumers like yourself. We need a market that serves all of California. As your next insurance commissioner, I will be that warrior to make sure all Californians have affordable insurance. Your ballots have arrived. I ask you to vote for Stephen Bradford as your next insurance commissioner. Stephen Bradford, a name you know. Stephen Bradford, a name you can trust. Vote by June 2nd.
Paid for by Stephen Bradford for Insurance Commissioner.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
There's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now. Things are changing fast and no one knows what comes next. Times like these make you realize just how important it is to be prepared. That's where My Patriot Supply comes in. They're America's #1 most trusted resource for survival food, solar power, water filtration systems, and more. Go to preparewithamerica.com to unlock a special offer that'll help you get ready for whatever comes our way. Go to preparewithamerica.com to see the special offer right now. That's preparewithamerica.com.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, indeed. We're talking with Butch Ware. He is a candidate for governor of California. And man, you got a lot of specifics on your website. If you want to know what Butch Ware's platform is, he's quite clear about it. You don't have to guess. Go to butchware4gov.com, butchware4gov.com. And we can have a really great conversation that we started to have about the two parties. Clearly, you believe they're both the same, both evil. But I want to make sure we get a chance to delve into what you're calling for, because it's a lot, starting with housing, which I think is at the top of your list, or at least it's at the top of the website.
Yeah. So there's kind of 5 key pieces. I'll go through them fast. Healthcare is actually #1, universal single-payer healthcare. 81% of Californians in most recent polls are in favor of this. The Democrats have never delivered it, are never going to deliver it, because who funds you runs you. The healthcare companies, fund candidates like Javier Becerra. They're going to make sure that we never get what every other wealthy country in the world has, which is, healthcare where you can walk into a doctor without a premium, without a copay, without a deductible, and get care. 66% of bankruptcies in the United States are fueled by medical bills. 0% of bankruptcies in France are fueled by medical bills. 0% of bankruptcies in the UK are fueled by medical bills. 0% of bankruptcies are created by medical expenses in Germany. And the reason is that in all of those places, they do not have a healthcare industry that lobbies politicians, buys them off so that they kill the possibility for universal single-payer healthcare. Those Democrats that some of our listeners love so much 75% state majority in the state legislature, and they just killed CalCare again. If you believe that Democrats are ever going to get your health care, there's a bridge in San Francisco that I'd very much like to sell you. So we want comprehensive, universal, single-payer health care.
Okay, and you say you'll
please.
do health care by day one by executive order.
Day one, correct. Yeah, and the reason is we know that it's wildly popular. So I'm going to do basically, what Lincoln did with the Emancipation Proclamation. I'm going to create it by executive order and then dare someone to take it back through legislative action. Because we know that even in so-called red states with Obamacare, and Obamacare, by the way, was a massive handout to the healthcare industry and to the insurance companies. It's a huge part of why we're in the fix that we're in now. But even in places that hated Obama, they loved Obamacare because it turns out that once people have health care coverage, they don't like it when elected officials take it away from them. So we will establish that by declaring a public health emergency on day one because we know that the popular mandate for it is there. It's just simply that the corporate-controlled Dems will not bite the hand that feeds them, which brings us to that.
I mean,
and
the argument is always, because I've been arguing for single-payer health care for decades.
Sure.
The argument is always we don't have the money.
It's not true. So that's just all cap, no facts. So right now, 70 cents on every healthcare dollar in the state of California is already covered by the taxpayers, and 30 cents on every healthcare dollar goes to those healthcare companies and insurance companies. Quite literally, you can balance the books without having to tax the billionaires just by getting the healthcare companies out of the way. And so that's the part that they don't want you to understand. We're already essentially funding universal single-payer health care. There's a lot of things that I want to do with the money to tax billionaires, especially like leveling the per-pupil spending gap so that the kid in Compton has the same amount spent on him per pupil as the kid in Beverly Hills in public school. That's what I want to do with the money from the billionaires. But we don't have to tax the billionaires to pay for universal single-payer health care. We're actually already paying for it. So the healthcare is the first piece. The housing is the second. I already talked about taxing Blackstone and BlackRock, the private equity companies, because we know that every time there's a $100 median increase in the average rent, the homelessness rate goes up 9%. Now, I faced homelessness as a child. My father was a locksmith with a sixth grade education who hustled to pay the bills, and my mom was a 15-year-old pregnant with me, told by her high school guidance counselor to abort the child because she was pregnant by a black man. That was D.C. in 1973. We were homeless the day that I was born, and we were houseless through much of my childhood or in insecure housing situations. I didn't live the same street address for a calendar year consecutively until I turned 9. Well, why am I mentioning this? Because between affecting the affordability crisis on housing and having health care that is comprehensive of mental health treatment and addiction treatment, you take out the root causes of the homelessness crisis. Because we have 187,000 people sleeping on the streets every night in the state of California, Dominique. And that has happened, by the way, on Team Blue's watch. Team Blue, have created the highest wealth inequalities of any state in the union. That's where we are in California. And we are tied with Louisiana for the highest rates of poverty in the country. And we can't blame that on Republicans. We can't say the bad guys are out there because Team Blue has had majorities or super majorities in the state legislature for 60
Yeah, I mean,
years,
I got arguments for that, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to hear about your gubernatorial candidate. So I'm just going to let you roll and say what you want to say, so folks can hear where you're coming from.
I'm happy to
no, I don't want to, because I've had these arguments, with Republicans, for years, but that's not what we're here for. I don't want to do that right now. I want to focus on what you're trying to do. So talk to me about how you make this happen, because everyone says they're going to deliver housing for all. You've mentioned rent control. You say you're going to push through the repeal of Costa-Hawkins, which I think has failed 3 times, using the governor's veto power.
Correct. So rent control, and then also the direct intervention against those private equity firms. Those are the 2 pieces that you can affect.
The taxation.
And
okay.
Correct. Yeah. So our platform and how we govern is established there, right on the website. And just in the interest of time, I'll move from there. So it's healthcare, housing, and then human rights. As I said before, I'm not going to comply with unconstitutional federal orders. We will immediately cut off funding to all of those municipalities that are caught complicit, running cover and carrying water for federal abductions of California residents. It's absolutely, and by the way, Democrats could use this power right now, but the problem is that in order to fight back against what Trump is doing, you would have to alienate the donor base that gives to the Democrats, right? Because the fundamental problem is that both parties are funded by the same corporations, especially in the state of California, where surveillance companies and tech companies, right? So if you made a Venn diagram of the donor base for the Democrats and the Republicans, you'd be staring at a single circle. And what I always tell people is who funds you runs you. The policies that we want that are wildly popular, right? And my solutions are not Republican solutions. My criticisms of the Democrats might be similar to some Republicans, but our answers are not to move this state to the right. Our answers are to move this state to the left in an actual progressive direction. And as my colleague Dylan Rodriguez at UC Riverside said, the Democrat Party is the most effective counterinsurgency organization in human history. They're actually keeping us from getting the aggressive, progressive policies that we want because they stand in the way of a true opposition party emerging. So I'll go from the human rights. And by the way, that means also protecting the trans community. Nobody should be oppressed because of how they show up in the world, because of their gender identity or expression. The last 2 points in the platform, kind of the top 5, we divest from occupation. And I think that this is really the reason why they pushed to move me from the ballot, because I am an explicitly anti-Zionist candidate. Malcolm, taught us all that. He said in 1964 of Israel that this is a white Jewish population being empowered by white imperialists to move Arabs off their land. For me, Palestinian liberation is part of the broader anti-imperialist struggle, the broader struggle against white supremacy, but most importantly, it impoverishes us here. Our tax dollars should not be used to kill kids in other countries. It should be used to feed and heal and especially educate kids in this one. So that's the last part, divest from occupation, but then invest in education. Universal pre-K, free tuition college admission, the same way that we had it under, Reagan before Reagan took it away, and then level the spending gap per pupil, because some folks are born on third base and think that they hit a triple, whereas others amongst us have to scramble to get a single at bat. And we need to have equity. What will really drive, economic development in the state of California is returning to having the most educated populace in the U.S. That should be the motor for our economic development, not exploitative tech bros in Silicon Valley.
And for the free education piece, you're saying, again, direct executive order, getting all state agencies to cancel student loan debt. Yep. A lot of that is federal, though. I mean, it took me 100 years exactly to pay mine off.
You could do more of this from the White House, and I've been clear about that. But the point is that some of that debt is held by the state, and we can cancel that immediately, and then we can keep that from happening. Because listen, everything that I've been able to accomplish in my life so far has been because I was able to get an education, and I want that same kind of opportunity, for all of our youth. But what's happening right now is that especially Black and brown working class families are being saddled with a lifetime of student loan debt, because it used to be that the plan was like go to college, get an education, get a good job, secure the bag. Well, now we are the bag, right? Our student loan debt, that is the product that they're trying to produce. And it's a form of class warfare, because you know who does not have student loan debt? Rich kids, right? Because they didn't have to take out student loans.
Yeah. So
instead of creating opportunity, what we're actually doing is like reinforcing, a hierarchical class structure that leaves people stuck in, dead-end jobs. And I want to say one last thing if I've got time, because I'm not looking at the clock too carefully, but a lot of these policies that get caricatured by Republicans and by corporate Democrats, frankly, as socialist policies, because they're anti-capitalist policies, are actually really, really good for commerce. So this is a thing that I think a lot of people have misconceptions about. Universal single-payer healthcare, for example, will be great for business in the state of California. It's just that the lobby of the healthcare industry keeps it from ever happening. Now, why do I say it'll be good for business? Because General Motors pays more for its healthcare than it pays for the steel in its vehicles, right? So what's going to happen when we have universal single-payer health care? Small businesses are going to flock to the state of California, and it will also rebalance relationships between those big corporations who are able to provide health care benefits because of their economies of scale, and us small business owners. I run a small business myself, and I can't hire full-time employees because I can't pay for the benefits. How many times have you, listener out there, been stuck in a bad job that you stayed at just because of the health care benefits? Well, now you can utilize your labor power and your labor mobility to get better wages and better working conditions. Union organizers, instead of negotiating for health care benefits, can be negotiating for better wages and working conditions. So a lot of the things that I'm describing, yes, they're going to be good for people, and providing health care is a moral responsibility, but it can also be an economic engine, as can investing in education, because every single development expert will tell you that the best return on investment with respect to national development or economic development is that every dollar spent that's spent on childhood education yields $7 in economic productivity at least from adults. So why are we, handing our money over to rich billionaires and tech bros and folks that are building AI data centers, and we're subsidizing them so that Tesla pays a 0.75% effective tax rate instead of investing in our kids, investing in their education, investing in their economic horizons and prospects? So that's what the platform is about, is that we stop investing in occupation, whether at home through ICE or abroad, right? We stop investing in private detention centers the way that Tom Steyer did, and now he tries to pretend to be a progressive, right, after making money off of private prisons and detention centers. It's like saying, I used to own a slave breeding plantation, but I'm a good guy now. Did you give any of the money back? No, I did not. Did you free any of the people that you'd owned? No, I did not, right? So we are getting scammed by people who are part of the systems that destroy us. And I'm bringing a genuine black liberation platform rooted in Malcolm, rooted in the Panthers, to the third largest political party in the United States of America, which is the Greens, and the only of those three that is not funded by corporations or PACs. And people will say that we can't win, but we win all the time. 57% of the elections in which we have stood a candidate for office in the last 3 years, we've won those elections. We beat Team Blue and Red together when they can't turn a fire hose of money onto an election. And that number in the last 3 years for Greens running, 78% of our candidates have won their elections inside the state of California in the last 3 years. So people pretend like the Green Party is not building power between presidential elections. We always are, and we're the largest third party, the only one that consistently wins these elections because people like this platform, right? It's a very progressive platform, and that's what we say that we want, but we continue to surrender our power to a corporate-controlled Democrat Party that is never going to meet the needs of black folks or ordinary working-class people.
Butch Ware is my guest. He wants your vote for governor. We'll continue the conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Where the overlooked become unmissable, this is KBLA Talk 1580.
Javier Becerra isn't new to the fight for progress. In Congress, he helped write and pass Obamacare. As Attorney General, he sued Trump over 120 times and won. As Secretary of Health, Becerra took on special interests and lowered drug costs. Endorsed by Planned Parenthood and nurses, Javier Becerra is the fighter we need and the leader we can trust to tackle California's affordability crisis, build more affordable housing, and stop Trump when he violates our civil rights. Ad paid for by Becerra for Governor 2026.
Let me tell you something about Los Angeles. This city doesn't have small problems, so it damn sure doesn't need small, weak leadership. That's why I support Karen Bass. She walked into a system that was slow, broken, and reluctant to change. She cut through red tape and started moving people off the streets into housing. She created the Office of Community Safety to make our neighborhoods safer, supported wage increases for many underpaid workers, expanded contract opportunities for small minority business, and signed an executive order to give formerly incarcerated people a second chance. Karen Bass is about real change. I'm Samuel L. Jackson, and I've seen a lot of people talk tough. Karen Bass is tough. That's why I'm voting for Karen Bass, and you should too. So vote today. You received your ballot in the mail by now. You don't even have to go to the polls. Just fill out your ballot and hand it to your postal worker. No stamp needed.
Paid for by re-elect Karen Bass for Mayor 2026, 445 South Figueroa Street, Suite 2400, Los Angeles, California 90071. Funding details at ethics.lacity.gov.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Created with a share of the 1984 Olympic Games surplus, LA 84 began operations in 1985 as a grant-making and educational foundation. Today, the LA 84 Foundation supports hundreds of nonprofit youth sports organizations throughout Southern California annually, trains coaches, commissions research, convenes conferences, and maintains the world's premier Olympic and sports library collection. They are transforming lives and communities through the power of youth sports. To find out about youth sports programs for yourself or your child, and to get information about the grants and support they offer to schools and nonprofits, or if you want to make a donation, please visit la84.org. That's la84.org. Or you can call them at 323-730-4600. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio, KBLA Talk 1580.
We're talking with Dr. Butch Ware. He is running for governor, and he's a member of the Green Party. He also ran for vice president on that ticket. One of these days, I'd like to see the Green Party put the black person on the top of the ticket, and whoever else is can be the vice president or whatever, Secretary of State.
If we don't finish in the top two in the gubernatorial primary, I'm just going to say this: you never know who might be at the top of the ticket for 28. Right? Let's just put it that way.
I've been hearing a lot of rumors about how black folks need to take over the Green Party and just make it the red, black, and green party. But anyway. What do you see as clearly it's not hard for you to distinguish yourself from the rest of the field as far as your platform, but what do you see as sort of the affordability question is always a big one, and obviously housing and healthcare and all the things that you've talked about impact that. But what about actual prices? Gas prices, food prices, all that stuff, which we can't necessarily magically control.
We actually really can have a massive impact on them, though, right? If we were actually able to pursue progressive policies towards this. So, for example, before Zoran was advocating for city-run grocery stores in New York, I had already been advocating for county, for a state-run grocery store in every single county so that we could resolve the problem of food deserts. And those are worker cooperatives where you're operating them at cost rather than for profit. The best way to get the price of eggs down is to have farm-to-table organic, farm circuits that you empower local farmers, and then you can get that fresh produce and keep costs down by running your own grocery stores. And people think, wow, that's a crazy socialist policy. No, we had that during the Great Depression, right? We had that not just in California, but in multiple states. And also, let me be clear about this. The Democrat administration, and this is where there is actually some truth to what the Republicans say, even though they be lying about every other thing, right? Which is that there is a massive amount of corruption and grift inside the Newsom administration. Most of our tax dollars that we pour in are just handed out through patronage networks that the Democrats run. So we can actually cut all of those extra costs and taxes on your gas. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a green candidate. We're trying to diminish our reliance on fossil fuels, but we should be not be punishing ordinary working people when we haven't yet delivered on things like high-speed rail and free public transportation in our city. So we can cut our costs in a lot of domains just by getting a lot of the pork out of the budgets that Gavin Newsom has been pushing through. And if you listen, for example, on the housing question, when Democrats are asked about this, they're like, we need to build more housing. I'm like, no, we have 1.2 million vacant units for every home and 187,000 people on the street.
But those are, but to be fair, those are mostly luxury units, right? I mean, I'm not saying that everyone shouldn't live in luxury, but...
Well, but this is the point, is that what they've been doing is giving handouts to Gavin's developer buddies from our tax base.
Okay, yeah. So you said that. So can you give me an example? Can you give me an example? Because, I mean, that you're right. That is what Republicans always say, waste, fraud, and abuse, waste, fraud, and abuse. Then they send Elon in with a chainsaw and fire 300,000 black women.
Right. Yeah. And that's obviously not our solution. The simplest one is $25 billion spent on homeless alleviation programs over the last 5 years, and the number of people sleeping on the streets went from 120,000 a night to 187,000 a night. Now, where did the money go? It went to developers to build so-called affordable housing, where they'll build 100 units, 10 of them will be affordable housing, and those 10 will become market rate after 10 years. And then it goes into the poverty industrial complex. The NGOs, CEOs literally will write for themselves $450,000 a year salaries out of our taxes to run a poverty alleviation program. It's poverty alleviation for them, but not for the people. And I know we're running out of time, so I just wanted to close with this, if it's possible.
But before you close, you can give me thumbs up, thumbs down. I think it's probably obvious, but it is Freedman Friday. You do support reparations. If governor, you would sign reparations bills.
Immediately, and as I might have mentioned that Chris Lodgson, the founder of CJ, Coalition for Justice and Equity, yes, he endorses me personally. We did an event together in Sacramento recently. I have been 10 toes down for reparations. Freedman Friday, look, every day that ends in a Y is Freedman Day for me. My folks come from Ware County, Georgia, which is named for 3 white men that owned 1,300 enslaved Africans at the outbreak of the Civil War. And it's about time that they cut those checks, because the generational wealth gap will never be leveled without that kind of work for equity. And the last thing that I'm just going to say is that we can win. What a lot of people don't understand is in that 2024 presidential election, 53% of Muslim Americans already opted out of the Democrat plantation and voted green. This was a massive demographic shift that hasn't been covered. Voter turnout is low in primaries. It's only going to take 1 million votes for me to finish in the top 2. There are 1 million Muslims in the state of California. This is the time to support a candidate that is running on the things that you stand for. You can vote for a Dem in the general election one way or the other. Write Butch Ware on your ballot on June 2nd.
And they have to write it because you are not on the ballot. That was just an arbitrary decision. They just said, we're not letting you on the ballot, because it's not like you didn't file in time, right?
I filed everything, and what they said, if you can believe it, is that they said that I left my phone number unredacted on what should have been a redacted copy of my 2024 tax returns, that there was a mistake, a redaction error in one field. They gave me 10 minutes to fix it. Otherwise, I would be disqualified from the ballot. They sent me an email at 4:50 p.m. and said it had to be corrected in person by 5 p.m. And then it gets worse. We took them to court because this is obviously nonsense. And they submitted into evidence all my filings. They had the correct paperwork in their possession the whole time. The whole thing was just a scam.
Shady.
And they have never since... Shady, and they've never defended it since then. They've just said, well, it's too late for us to change it. We've already sent out the ballots and the voter's guide. So it's the shadiest of all shady business, and it's because they know that a black radical at the head of the Green Party, that's actually an electoral threat. So they were trying to neutralize that threat, but they tried to write us out. You can write us right back in.
Butch Ware, thank you so much for spending the hour with us.
My pleasure, Dominique. Look forward to doing it again in person sooner than later.
Indeed. Freedman Friday is next on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Chicago's Black Mayor Brandon Johnson is pushing back on tougher measures to stop teen takeovers, saying a more aggressive approach won't work.
In other places, these aggressive tactics have not necessarily deterred these gatherings from taking place. In fact, they ultimately exacerbate the situation.
His comments come after a chaotic weekend that left 5 officers hit by a car. 4 people are dead after a shooting in Los Angeles. It happened near the intersection of Parthenia Street and Woodley Avenue. Police say 2 adults and 2 children were killed in North Hills. Neighbors suspect a murder-suicide, but authorities say there's no ongoing threat. And the Grammy Museum is hosting its 3rd annual Hip Hop Block Party on June 16th. The event will feature live performances, panels, fashion, and more across all floors, running from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Head to Waba Grill weekdays after 3 p.m. for their $5 happy hour and try their new chili crisp dumplings. Bold, crunchy, and tossed in a fiery crisp, paired with a premium Waba beverage drink like their authentic Thai tea. Get both for just $5 only at Waba Grill. It's for you.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The San Antonio Spurs took care of business at home Thursday night in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. They dominated Oklahoma City 118-91 to even the best-of-7 series at 3 apiece. 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 block shots for San Antonio star Victor Wembanyama. OKC missed 33-point shots, 5 of them by NBA MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. SGA had his lowest point total in the series with 15. He also had only 3 free throw attempts. We'll see if SGA plays like an MVP in the decisive Game 7 Saturday in OKC. It's been 12 years since an HBCU won a game in the NCAA baseball tournament. HBCU Alabama State takes on Alabama today in a first-round game. First pitch at 4 p.m. West Coast time. For Alabama State alumni in the Los Angeles area, you can catch the game live on ESPN+. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, black voices, black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud.
Stand up!
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it!
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, The Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA! Yeah, man.